Sir, we started last class by rhinovirus, sir.
Rhinoviruses. Okay, cool. So let's have a quick recap. And since Rifat has joined and she's able to speak, how about you, Rifat? Would you like to compensate for all the classes you could not discuss and communicate by giving a summary?
Sir, I couldn't find the last class's lecture.
You were not present in the last class?
No.
Okay. Okay. Hannah, you were there, right? Are you there, Hannah? If you're speaking, you're not audible. And you can see that you're unmute, but you're not audible.
Sorry, what, sir?
Yes, you're audible now. How about summary?
Sir, you can. Sorry, sir, I wasn't there.
Okay, okay. You were not there in the last class?
No, last class I was there. I went to take my pouch, sir.
Okay, cool. So let's start with summary. You giving a summary.
Yeah. So we
Okay.
started with disease caused by viruses, and part of them was like COVID, and the next one, which is most common one, which is rhinovirus, which causes common cold. And then we discussed the symptoms and everything, and what organ they infect.
Yeah. So what organ do rhinoviruses infect?
Rhinoviruses infect the upper respiratory tract,
Yes.
and
Right.
they do not affect the lungs though.
Yes.
The symptoms are cough, sneezing, nasal congestion, and or nasal discharge. And then we immediately move to diseases caused by protozoa, which is malaria, no, sorry, plasmodium. Okay, and there are 4 types of plasmodium. One is falciparum, and then
Falciparum.
falciparum and vivax, ovale, and malaria. Falciparum is one of the most dangerous or fatal, how to say, plasmodium, which causes most of the death. And then we study the life cycle on how it is, how it is, how the diseases spread, the life cycle. So yeah, should I explain the life cycle also?
Yes, this figure, because this is the major thing, right? We spend a
Yes.
lot of time on this. Yes.
So an
You
infect.
can go in the same steps. We started with here, step
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Yes.
The infected mosquito once once bites the human, and only female insects take blood. This is due to the incubation of the egg and nutrients. So once a female mosquito has fed on the blood of human beings, it has from their saliva, it has transferred infection of plasmodium, and then it goes to the blood and then to the liver, and in the liver it starts infection, or the site of infection basically, it starts multiplying, and then from there it goes to back into the RBCs. After the RBCs, inside the RBCs also it starts, how to say, reproducing, and then the bursting causes a toxin called hemozoin, which
Hemozoin. Yes. Right.
hemozoin toxin, which causes the fluctuations of fever, I guess, the chills and the fever, like that. And then the cycle is repeated again when the another non-infected mosquito sucks the blood from an infected person. So yeah.
You forgot to mention the gametocytes. What are
Yeah.
these gametocytes?
I kind of forgot that part. So 1 minute. I think I wrote it.
Yeah, I dictated it, right?
Yes, sir.
So inside the human, yeah, tell me.
Yes, sir. Inside the human, the gametocytes has, like, the female. Isn't that inside the? Oh, okay.
So this plasmodium mainly reproduces asexually inside the human system, but it forms multiple copies of itself, but in an asexual way. But some of these sporozoids, instead of just undergoing asexual division, they happen to form gametocytes, which are sexual stages of male and female gametocytes separately when they divide. Now, these two male and female gametocytes, two kinds of cells, stay in the RBCs, and then when another mosquito bites an infected person, these gametocytes go back to the mosquito where they complete their sexual life cycle. Right? So gametocytes are sexual stages that develop in the red blood cells. But they cannot reproduce sexually inside the human, so they have to go back to the mosquito host. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Continue.
And then from the gut of the mosquito, it the sporozoites, the gametocytes, reproduce in the gut of the mosquito, and then afterwards it happens the same cycle of the mosquito infecting the
Yeah, so in the gut, they do the sexual reproduction.
yes, sir.
Fertilization happens between the male and the female gametocyte, and as a result, a new sporozoite is produced, which again grows and develops in the salivary glands of the mosquito. Then next time when a mosquito which has these sporozoites in its salivary gland goes and bites a healthy person, then it infects the person with the sporozoites. Correct? And the cycle completes. Okay. Yeah, so this is where we stop in the last class. And in today's class, we have to do certain diseases like amoebiasis, ascariasis, elephantiasis, and ringworms. I ask you to go back and read these. Did you go back and read this from your NCERT at least? So let's start, which is today's class. Okay. So today I'll be starting with we'll take another protozoan. So Plasmodium was the protozoa, disease caused by protozoa. The second disease in this protozoan case is amoebiasis. So there is another protozoa called ant amoeba histolytica. Now, let's go back to the words again to understand biology better. Now, you know that it is a kind of amoeba, right? It is amoeba, and the word histo means, what does the word histo in biology means? Histology. So I'm telling you, histo means tissues. Okay. So what does histology becomes? Logy means study, like biology, study of life. Yes, tissue studies or tissue analysis is histology. And what do we mean by lytic or lysis or lytica? Lytic enzymes, hydrolytic enzymes. We have studied this part. You have studied this part in class 11 digestive system. There are enzymes that are lytic in nature. Lytic means degrading or digesting. Understand? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So ant amoeba histolytica, the name comes from because when this amoeba, these are big amoebas, when they infect a human, they have the capability to destroy the tissues or digest up the tissue. So basically they can eat up the tissues. Okay. And they majorly affect, so it's a parasitic protozoan. Write down. Ant amoeba histolytica is the parasitic protozoan and it infects majorly the large intestine. So this is where it normally can get transferred to in human body and can cause the infection here. It also has the capability to migrate to other organs, even brain. It can reach up to brain in cases where, so sometimes the infection can happen through multiple ways. One is through houseflies. Houseflies act as a mechanical carrier. Now, when I use the word mechanical carrier, they are different. So here, it's not like the mosquito, which is a vector for plasmodium in malaria. There, the protozoa strictly depended on two hosts. You take any of the host from the scenario and the life cycle will not get completed because it has to infect, multiply in number asexually, then go back to the mosquito and reproduce sexually to make more sporozoites, then infect again. So the sexual part of the life cycle takes place in the mosquito, and the asexual part or the infection and multiplication part takes place in the human, in two organs. Primary primary site of infection in the case of malaria is liver, and secondary is blood, RBCs. But in case of Entamoeba histolytica, there can be carriers, but they do not depend on them. You can also get the infection independent of flies. Like if there is Entamoeba histolytica present in a lake, a contaminated lake or a water body, where you go and you are taking bath, and through your nose or eyes or any other opening in the body, it can just get into your body. And there have been cases reported where the Entamoeba histolytica infected the person through the nasal cavity because the water went into the nose and it contained this Entamoeba histolytica. And from there, it migrated to the brain and started digesting the brain tissues or killing the brain tissues. But that's a very severe form of infection. Normally, when they infect the large intestine, they cause a disease which is known as, what is the disease called? They cause amoebiasis. Okay, it's also commonly known as amoebic dysentery. Is it clear? So Entamoeba histolytica causes amoebic dysentery. Clear, people?
Yes.
Yeah. Now let's come to the symptoms. So the first symptom, which is if there's dysentery, amoebic dysentery, what will happen? There is abdominal pain, very, very. Just a moment. First is abdominal pain or cramps. And why is that happening? Because it's growing in number and it's infecting the tissues nearby, and it's also damaging the tissues nearby. And when it does that, the infected person will have fecal matter or stool with excess mucus and blood. So the excreta will contain blood. And where is this blood coming from? Where is it coming from in the large intestine? Tell me, why there is blood? No one is speaking. Atif, Hanifa, Hiba, Rifat, Hannah. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes. So where is this? Why is there blood in the stool?
Like maybe due to the strain in the large intestine, the capillaries in the like large intestine might have ruptured, I guess.
Yes, but why will they rupture?
Because of the strain, sir.
Because ant amoeba histolytica digests the tissues. Histolytica,
Oh,
it
okay.
eats the tissues. If it is eating the tissues, there will be blood, right?
Yeah, but like usually even for like vomiting and all those things, like vomiting or coughing, people get blood, because of the capillaries breaking in the throat
No,
area.
that's because their throat gets uh, ruptured, not
Oh,
ruptured, but bruised. When you cough so hard and you cough consistently, your throat gets irritated, and there is a lining that gets the lining comes off, because of which there is a wound kind of a situation. Or
so,
if you have ulcers in the stomach, then you get blood in your vomit.
sir, even
Okay.
if there is like how to say continuous stool, it will discomfort the this one, right, large intestine.
Yeah, but during loose motions, you don't get blood in the loose motions, because when it's continuously a loose motion or diarrhea or dysentery, the stool is very thin, it's very watery and fluidy, right?
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so it does not cause damage to the lining as such. If there is constipation, then the damage can be more. And in
Um,
fact, constipation is also one of the symptoms that you can see. It's quite counterintuitive to think that dysentery, the name is amoebic dysentery, but there is constipation as a symptom, because when the infection happens, the intestine tries to it gets contracted due to the infection, and the bowel movement is affected. If the bowel movement is too less, there will be constipation. If it is too more, there will be loose motions. Okay, is it clear?
yes, sir.
And in severe cases, I'm writing this as a severe symptom. In severe infection, there is the ant amoeba histolytica digests the intestinal lining and migrate to other organs and tissues. Okay, this is where it becomes very, very fatal and rogue, and can also kill the kill the host or the human. Is symptoms clear to you, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, talking about mode of spread. So in this case, the infection can also come independently if you drink contaminated water or you eat contaminated food. But housefly also act as a mechanical carrier. So it has no physiological role to play here. It's just a mechanical carrier. It will just go and sit on something which has this entamoeba histolytica contamination. So it will stick to their legs and their body, and then they will come and sit to some surface or our body or food or water, and through there it can infect us. So if housefly act as a mechanical carrier and transmit the parasite from the feces or excreta of an infected person, feces or excreta of infected person to food and water. and then if we eat it or drink this water, we get infected. Okay. So this is the main source of infection, that contamination of food and water is the main source of infection for amoeba, entamoeba histolytica, and causes amoebiasis or amoebic dysentery. Is everything clear regarding this? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Now this was protozoa. Now let me go to the next kind of organisms that can cause severe infections in human. It is, say, worms. Infections caused by worms. You know what are worms known as in biology? What is the word used for worms? In Animal Kingdom, class 11th, second chapter, or even fourth chapter, which is Animal Kingdom, you must have studied worms, like different phylums of animals, right? Did you study Platyhelminthes and Aschelminthes there in Animal Kingdom?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you remember what were Platyhelminthes and Aschelminthes?
Platyhelminthes, I guess it was under.
I'm writing it here.
It was under insects, I guess.
Platyhelminthes were not insects.
I guess I'm not sure, sir. I forgot.
The word platy means flat. Duck-billed platypus. It has a flat beak. And the word helminths means worm in biology. And Aschelminthes, therefore, are known as roundworms. Okay. This is called roundworms, and this is called flatworms. Platyhelminthes and Aschelminthes. So worms are called helminths in biological term. Do you understand? Will you remember this? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes. So we are going to study about two type of worms here, which are in your syllabus. One is a roundworm, which is known as Ascaris, and the other is a filarial worm. It is also a type of roundworm, but it's filarial worm, and its name is Wuchereria. These two we are going to study. Okay. And what disease do they cause? Ascaris and Wuchereria. So let's begin. Let's first start with Ascaris. So you can write down, it is the common roundworm. It is the common roundworm that causes the infection known as Ascariasis. When it was amoeba, it was called amoebiasis. Now it is Ascaris, so it is called Ascariasis. Is it clear? Now symptoms. What does this infection cause? This is very important. Symptoms and mode of transmission and the name. That's all. So these symptoms of Ascariasis are internal bleeding. They also affect the Like they can come through water, and they can infect the intestines and internal organs, stomach, etc. So they causes internal bleeding. They can also infect the muscles. So they cause muscular pain. You also get, because it's an infection, so you can understand that you will get fever again. So internal bleeding, muscular pain. In almost every infection, we get fever. In this case, one interesting thing that happens is anemia. Now, why do people get anemia due to ascariasis? Because there is internal bleeding. So what happens in internal bleeding? You lose blood, right?
Yes.
Which causes anemia. So that becomes a problem. And in a case of ascariasis, there is also blockage of intestine passage. So nothing can move through the intestine. Sometimes it's because of swelling, sometimes blocks because of constriction, but there is blockage. Okay. Now this roundworm seems to be very, very potent and very, very harmful. But how do we get the infection? So we get the infection through soil, water, or food, and some plants also. And what happens is the eggs, so they stay in our intestine and they lay eggs because they are worms, so they will lay eggs. You understand, everyone? Now these eggs are present, or they excrete out, they are excreted out through the fecal matter of the infected human. And this fecal matter can go to contaminate soil, water, plants around. Okay. And then a healthy person can acquire the infection from contaminated water, contaminated vegetable or fruits, etc. Okay, so write down. Infection can spread from infected person to a healthy person. Through water, food, and food comes your vegetables, fruits, and also through soil. These are the places where the eggs of Ascaris can be found. Is it okay, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is about Ascaris. Now talking about the second one, which is Wuchereria, also known as filarial worm. So because it's called filarial worm, it causes a disease called filariasis. Okay. Filariasis. And commonly this disease is known as elephantiasis. Any idea what happens in this disease? Elephantiasis? Anyone?
Severe swelling of the legs.
Yes, it affects, but why is it happening? Why the legs are swelling? What do you think? You have to know a little bit in detail, right? So in ascariasis, infection was very quick. Once they enter in your system, they cause muscular pain, fever, internal bleeding leading to anemia and blockage of intestine. You get to know of the symptoms very fast. On the other hand, Wuchereria is special. It is very slow developing chronic inflammation, which happens in the organs and can stay for years without unnoticed, without being noticed. So write down. And this Wuchereria is of two types. One is called Wuchereria bancrofti. Okay. And the second is called Wuchereria malai. Okay. And both of these two strains can cause filariasis. So in this, write down. Filariasis is a slowly developing chronic infection or inflammation. Chronic infection which usually affects the lymphatic vessels. Which usually affects the lymphatic vessels of the lower limb. Now, does it make clear why there is a swelling in the lower limb? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's so slowly developing that it goes unnoticed early. Okay. No rapid response. And write down the lower limb due to infection results in severe swelling and gross deformities. Severe swelling and gross deformities. So the leg looks like it's the leg of an elephant. That's why the name elephantiasis comes. That's why it's called elephantiasis. Okay. And it also, if it spreads like throughout the leg, it starts from the lower limb, but from the thigh region. And if it spreads, it also can affect severely the genitals. Okay. The reproductive genitalia. So write down, even the genitals are affected severely. Even the genitals are affected severely. Okay, is it clear, everyone? Yes, no, something?
Yes.
So the difference, okay, and how it spreads. How it spreads? Symptoms, you know, lymphatic vessels are affected, so will be pain, there will be deformity, there again because it's an infection, so there will be fever and severe pain. You will not be able to lift your leg. The leg will look like an elephant's leg. Okay, and how does it spread? Let's write down the pathogens, which in this case are the worms. So their eggs are transmitted. So write down the pathogens are transmitted through the female mosquitoes. Female mosquito bites. Female mosquito vectors. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So these two are the major worm causing infections that are there in your syllabus. Any other worm causing infection? Not that I can remember that is in your syllabus. There are many, but we have to stop somewhere. So now let's come to, how many of you have heard of ringworms? Ringworms. Have you heard of this term, ringworms? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. So what causes ringworms? A worm?
No, sir.
No, right? What causes then?
It's
The name has worms,
yeah.
but what causes a ringworm?
I think it's a fungi.
Yes, it's a fungi. So remember that ringworms is it's not the name of the worms or the pathogen that causes disease. It's the name of the disease itself, infection itself. It's a skin infection. So let's come to infections caused by fungi. In this, we are going to study the genus. So there is the genus, which is known as Microspora. Why are they called Microspora? Because this genus of fungi produce tiny spores through which they reproduce. So Microspora, and inside the Microspora genus, you will study two type of fungi that cause this ringworms. One is called Trichophyton, and the other is called Epidermophyton. So you already know what does epiderm means, right? Epiderm, the outer layer, the skin is called epidermis. Remember? No one remembers, right? So epiderm comes from the skin layer, outermost layer. Epi, outer, dermis layer, and phyton is this fungi which causes infection in the skin. Okay, so both these fungi causes ringworms. Is it clear, everyone? So it is a very common infectious disease, ringworms. Write down, ringworms are one of the most common infectious disease happening in humans. It's a fungal infection. It's the most common infectious disease. Now, what are the symptoms? Symptoms of ringworms. So simple, you know that the skin, when it's infected through a fungal infection, it becomes very dry and itchy, and scaly lesions appear on the skin. That's ringworm. So write down, appearance of dry, scaly lesions. Appearance of dry, scaly lesions takes place on various parts of the body. Okay. And the worst thing is that these lesions are super itchy. They are very itchy. So they itch a lot, like beyond. You can imagine it's very, very itchy. And what conditions will, fungi, what conditions increases the fungal growth? Can you tell me? Fungal growth requires what conditions? Again, class 11th.
Moist and
Which,
humid condition.
Sorry, come again.
Moist and humid condition.
Yes, hot and humid. Moist and humid means the same thing, Anna.
Oh, okay, sorry.
If you are saying humidity, it is the water content in the atmosphere, which is moist air. So during the monsoons, the air become moist or humid. And in the humid air, we tend to sweat a lot. Can you tell me why do we sweat more in humid conditions? It does not necessarily have to be hot, but if it is very, very humid, we still sweat a lot. Why? We should sweat in very hot conditions, right? Like hot summers, you're sweating, it makes sense. It's very hot, so you are sweating. Why do we sweat in humid conditions? Yes. What happens in humid conditions? Like I just told, this I think you have studied in class 6th or 7th as a part of your EVS, environmental studies. What is humidity and how it makes us sweat more? Simply during a hot summer when you're sweating, that sweat is being evaporated, right? Because the air is dry. Dry heat also makes you feel very hot and sweat, but the sweat does not stay on the surface. It gets evaporated super fast because it's very hot, and the air is dry, so it can contain and hold moisture, so it evaporates, leaving your skin cool. But in a humid condition, even if it's not very hot, even if it's mildly hot, that will lead you to sweat. And you will not sweat that much, but any sweat of yours will not evaporate and go into the atmosphere, because the atmosphere is already containing lots of water. So it's very humid atmosphere. So sweat does not evaporate from your body surface. And that's why you seem to be sweating more, or your body is always, wet. Your clothes are always wet during this humid weather. So humid weathers are also super annoying and very irritating, just like hot weather, even sometimes more than that. Do you understand?
Yes.
So hot and humid climate makes the fungi grow more. So that's why heat and moisture help these ringworms to spread more. And where do these fungal infections have more chances to occur? Can it just occur on my forehead or on my arm, anywhere? It can occur, but where are the most chances of fungal infections to happen?
For hands and feet.
In the folded areas, the folds of our body. For
Oh.
example, between your fingers. This skin is a skin fold, right? Between every finger. Same with the space between your toes or your elbow. Like opposite to the elbow, this is the fold, skin fold. Behind the ears, below the chin. So all these neck skin folds. So all these skin folds are more susceptible to having these fungal infections. Okay. Now, how do they spread? How does this infection reaches person to person? So write it down. Ringworms are spread through ringworms are spread through either soil, because these fungal spores might be present in the soil, contaminated soil, by sharing clothing with the infected person. Sharing clothing with the infected person, and utensils and comb. Utensils not that much, but comb, because they have to come in contact with your skin. Scalp is also a skin, right? So there also you seem to get ringworms a lot. Now, is all these diseases clear to you? All these infections clear to you? Everyone, say yes or no?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so Hannah, Atif, Hiba, and Rifat, let's do this one thing. Whatever I have taught you, disease, all the classes of organisms that cause infections, and all the infections, their causative agents, and their mode of spread. These four things: infection, causative agent, mode of spread, and what was it? The class to which this organism belongs: fungi, bacteria, viruses, protozoa, and worms. So we have done bacteria, viruses, protozoa, fungi, and worms. These five things and some diseases in each class. Go through all of them once, and then I'll ask you a question, all of you. And all of you have to answer. So I'm giving you 3 minutes to just go through everything, all the diseases that we have done. Quick, 4 minutes, okay? 8:30 sharp. I mean, my time 8:30 sharp. I'll ask. 4 minutes.
Sir,
Are you doing
all
it?
the diseases or the ones we learned today?
No, all bacterial, virus, just the name. So in bacterial, the name of the disease, causative agent, and their mode of spread. That's all. Symptoms are not that important for this question that I'm going to ask. Take 4 minutes and quickly go through it, all of it. All the 5 classes of organisms. Are you doing that? Everyone? Tell me something. Keep talking at least.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. 3-4 minutes. I'll be back. I'll get some water for myself.
Sir, infection, causative agent, and the symptoms, right?
No, he said first the bacteria, those bacteria, viruses, all those things we done, right? Fungi and all those things. Okay, those things, and
Yes, sorry, Atif. I went to the kitchen
how could you
to get
explain?
water.
Atif,
Am I audible?
so Atif asked a question. Could you explain
Yes, what's the question, Atif? Oh, you are explaining already? Good, good, great. That's a very good thing. What was the question, Atif? Did Hannah answer your question?
Not completely, sir, but we need to
Oh, I
what all we
interrupted.
need to explain? The infection, causative agent, and
Yes, the infection, the causative agent, and the mode of spread. That's all.
mode of spread. Oh, okay, sir,
So
thank
in
you.
infections, there are 5 classes: bacteria, viruses, fungi, worms, and protozoa. Right? We have studied all these,
Yes, sir.
under which we have done some certain. So I have done it like that. It's better to remember it like that. So okay, go on. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. Everyone is doing it?
Yes.
Yes.
Done? If you're done, then let me know, then I'll ask questions. Done, everyone?
Done, sir.
Okay, others? So by doing that, you must have realized that the mode of, how many different kind of mode of spread could be there? Tell me, if you just forget about all the diseases, let's put all the diseases in, not so currently we have divided it or we categorized it on the basis of what kind of causative agent is responsible for that infection. Now I'm asking, if you have to if you have to categorize all these infections on the basis of what is the mode of spread majorly, how do they spread? So what different kinds could be there?
Water.
Respiratory,
Sorry,
like air, sir. Airborne.
airborne. Yes, right. So let's start with air. So disease infections that can spread through air. Mostly these diseases, these infections will be respiratory, right? The causative agent must be attacking or infecting the respiratory system. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So in case of airborne diseases, can you name some examples of airborne from all the classes of causative
Parvovirus,
agents?
sir.
Pneumonia.
Common cold, common cold. I'm talking about the infections,
Yeah,
don't talk
sorry.
about the agent.
Yeah, sir.
Common cold, yes. And
COVID.
COVID and
Pneumonia.
Pneumonia.
any.
Yeah.
So these two are caused by viruses. Anything that is caused by some other, but still is airborne.
So pneumonia.
Pneumonia caused by bacteria. Okay. So how will you prevent, or what is the precautionary measure that one has to take in an airborne infection or airborne disease?
Mask.
First is mask, correct. Then wear masks, both for the infected one and the non-infected. If they wear mask, the contamination chances will be less. Second is
Sanitizer.
to avoid close contacts
Uh,
with the infected person and the surfaces that person might contaminate its belongings. And what you can do?
Maintain personal hygiene or wash your hands regularly.
Yes, keep washing your hands before touching your own body openings like nose, mouth, eyes, ears, etc. Cool. So this question has come in boards. That's why I'm telling you this. They ask, suggest precautionary measures for diseases which are airborne, diseases which are um, um, spread through food and water. So can you name? So first was airborne. We did. Okay. I hope you noted the points down. Now let's come to food and water. Diseases that are spread through food and water. Can you give me some examples from all the diseases that we have studied above? Ascariasis, very good. It's not Ascaris is the worm. Ascariasis is the disease, okay? But Ascariasis, correct. And food and water.
Typhoid.
Typhoid. Typhoid Mary, remember that. She spread it through food. She cooked. And anything else? Name three. Amoebiasis, that also can spread through apart from being spread through flies, amoebiasis can also spread through food and contaminated water, right? I give you an example.
Yes.
Yes. So what will you do in this case where diseases, infectious diseases can spread through food and water? What is the precautionary measure that you can take?
So heat the food.
Sorry?
Make sure the food is hot, like freshly prepared hot food.
The food is properly cooked. That is what important.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So make sure the food is properly cooked. So even if it had a contamination, it can get killed, okay, with proper cooking. So it's properly cooked. But in case sometimes what after you cook the food and when it was there after cooking, it got infected, a fly came and sat. What to do then?
do not eat the food.
Do not leave the food open so that it can get contaminated by flies, right? Third, maintain public hygiene. Like here, the important thing is also public hygiene so that you do not just discard food or wastes anywhere around your house, because flies will come there and they will bring these issues with them, right? Amoeba or ascaris eggs with them. Yes or no?
So
Yes. So proper disposal of waste and fecal matter, properly washing fruits and vegetables before eating them, because you don't cook fruits, right? So fruits have to be eaten raw, so you better wash them properly, and if possible wash them in a lukewarm water before you consume them. And clean drinking water, use filtered water, not water just from any source. Avoid that. Then where the chances of infection are there, sometimes water are very clean in nature, sometimes they can get contaminated. Cook the food properly, do not keep the food unattended or open. So that we can do in case of, so two things we did. What is the third way through which they can transmit? Air, food, water, done. Now and you have written all the different things done in 3 cases. Third can be, sorry, fourth can be vector borne through mosquitoes specifically. Okay, vector means there has to be a vector that can bring it to you.
So
and can you name that? Yes.
second one is foodborne, right?
Food and waterborne, yes.
Okay, sir.
The next is vector borne. Food and water, for both food and water, we do the same kind of things, right? Boil the water, cook the food properly. Don't drink contaminated water, don't eat contaminated food, etc., etc. Maintain public hygiene, like that. So name the diseases that are spread only by vectors. Insect vectors like mosquitoes when they bite us. Malaria and filariasis, right? So write down vector-borne diseases, vector-borne infectious diseases like malaria and filariasis. So what will you do in this case? How will you prevent vector-borne diseases?
So maintain personal hygiene.
Howsoever personal hygiene you maintain, a mosquito can still bite you. Mosquitoes don't bite you if you stink or you don't take bath. It's not like those who take bath, mosquitoes don't bite them. They bite regardless, right? So personal hygiene will not, you cannot just write anything, it has a logic. By personal hygiene, you can, get rid of certain diseases which are spread through waste things and which can spread by contaminations. So if you have virus and bacteria on your hand and in your body, you better take a bath, maintain personal hygiene. Fungal diseases can be prevented from spreading by maintaining personal hygiene. Clean the folds, skin folds when you are taking a bath, clean your ears properly, all these things. But you cannot get protected from malaria by maintaining personal hygiene, right? Can you?
No.
No. So what will you do? Just 1 second. Yes, come in. I'm taking a class. Yeah. What will you do? You cannot do anything if mosquitoes.
Use like pesticides.
Pesticides for mosquitoes. They're used for pests, and they're used in the farms or
No,
in
sir. I
your
don't mean. I
homes.
mean, like, the ones very like, those like good night and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they are not pesticides. They are insecticides. There's a difference between pest and insects. You know that?
Yes, sir. I like used to really rough term. I was not sure like what was the correct.
Okay, cool. But you have a right point. Correct. So do not allow presence of mosquitoes or these vectors around you. Kill them. You can keep mosquito traps. You can use substances that kill mosquitoes effectively, or instead of killing, can you just have one way to kill? What is the other way you can do? What you all do when the season of dengue and malaria comes? What do the governments prescribe all the time? Do not let water stagnate around you, because mosquitoes lay eggs in the water, in the fresh water around you. They breed in water, right? They breed in stagnating water. Have you not heard of these things? Keep your coolers and your pots clean. Keep changing the water on a regular basis. If not possible at all, put some drops of oil on the water. Never heard of these things.
Yes, sir. I have.
You have, right? So why are you not saying this? Do not allow the vectors to breed is the first thing. If they have somehow already have bred and they are around you, kill them by using these things which can kill mosquitoes, mosquito killers. And anything else you can do?
So there are mosquito nets and all those things.
Yes, you can use mosquito nets. Very good. And let's say there is a water body or a pond or something where you cannot go and put lots and lots of oil, or you cannot clean a lake or a pond, but mosquitoes can breed still. So what can you do there?
So there's like this machine which can increase the circulation of water, I guess.
So you'll go and put a machine in the lake.
Like how to say? In
I
that
understood that the
stagnant
kind
lake.
of machines that you put in the aquarium, right?
Yeah, to increase the circulation of water, aerate the water, I guess. Yeah.
But is it possible to do that in a water body?
Yeah.
Let's say a small pond or a lake.
Yeah. If we
How
have
will you do that? Where will you get an electric supply for a lake for?
the electric supply.
Who will pay the bills?
No, not like that, sir. Like while using its own water, okay, you make it by using its own water. You can make it, how to say, um, explain, so.
Using the own water of the lake, like you are using the water of the lake, and
Yeah,
you are running a turbine.
yeah, no turbine whatsoever. Okay. I don't know how to explain
A
it.
lake water it's not a running water, it is a standing
Yeah,
water.
I know,
So
sir.
it's not moving at all.
Yeah, it's not a turbine, sir. By using its water and some, suction and all those things inside the pipe and all those things on huge pipe, so then it would start to, keep taking the water and pour the water out.
Yeah, I understood. You mean create a suction from a pipe and just put that back in the lake, right? So the
Yeah.
water will keep moving with the force.
Yeah.
Once you put it in the same lake, don't you think that it will stop after some time?
How, sir, works through water? No, yes, sir.
It works from a concentrated water source to a source where there is no water. It can work if you want to empty the lake. I understand.
Sir,
Farmers do it. Farmers do it to irrigate their fields.
Sir? Can I draw and I can show you what I mean?
Yes, you can. You want? Let me give you.
like annotate.
Yeah, I made you co-host.
Okay.
Okay. Can you annotate on this screen also? If you cannot, then I'll stop sharing. It's interesting thing you're saying. Can you annotate? Go to annotate part on the
Yeah,
top.
it's not there, sir.
It's not there.
It's asking for remote control. It's okay. Can I share the screen though?
Sure, do it.
Can you see, sir?
Yes, we all can see.
Now,
Great, Hannah. Great initiative. Yes. So this is a lake,
now
I
for
believe.
a lake, there'll be like a
Okay.
huge pipe,
Uh-huh.
and then from here, another
Okay.
this one, and they use this water from here, like this, and then they pour it out. It continuously takes the water and pours it out. It takes the water and pours it out. I've seen it.
Without any energy, can it happen?
I mean, it uses the, how to say, at first it's a lot of work, sir. It takes, first the suction part takes a lot of time, but once it starts taking the water, after that it will be easy. I've seen it actually.
So my question is, what is making the water move? It's a spontaneous energy being generated, don't you think? So I can understand that in that lake, if you put a pipe like this, I don't think I can annotate this now.
1 minute.
Can I annotate it? I don't know. Okay, but I understood that if you put a pipe, you can see my cursor, right?
No, sir. 1 minute. I think I can share.
Can you allow me to annotate in your screen? Let's
Yeah, done, sir.
done. Can I now
Too.
let's see if I can annotate? Okay. No, I cannot. But anyways, but what you are saying is I understood. So I'm ending. So can you stop the screen sharing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'll just go back to the screen sharing of mine to discuss. So Hannah gave a very brilliant idea. She said there is a lake. I can understand if you put a pipe here and draw it out and just dump it somewhere else and you create a suction. So the pressure of water is high here and it's low here. So it will constantly keep throwing water. This is what farmers also do to irrigate their lands from a high density water to low density region. But you are saying that put a pipe here and put it back in the lake, right?
Yes, sir.
So I don't think that will work that well, because if it is not touching the water surface, then it can work for some time, but ultimately it will stop. And instead of doing all this thing, you to constantly keep doing this, you need energy of some or the other kind, right? It cannot be a energy free process. We cannot move anything. So here you are using the concept of its potential energy stored because the water is not flowing. It's the same thing like you have storage tanks on your roof. The moment you open the tap, you don't need any energy, the water just flows down. But to put water in that tank, you need energy because you're going up the hill. So again, down the gradient, this thing can work. But from the lake to the same lake, I'm not sure for how long it will work. But instead of doing all of that, what is our objective? Whenever in science we have a problem to solve, we focus on the problem. You know, there is a saying in science, we should not do everything that we can do. We should only do those things which we must do. We cannot do everything that we want to do, right? So we can do things which we must do to solve the problem. What is a better way to solve the problem? The problem is to not allow mosquitoes breed in a lake or a pond or a water body around you, where you cannot, it's not your cooler. It can be it can be aquarium, let's say a big aquarium. It can be a water body around your place. So you cannot go and put oil or lots of things, insecticides in that might also affect other organisms and kill the life. So what is the easiest way instead of doing all this?
Sir,
Yes, Rifat.
I have a question. Why do you use oil in water?
Yes, why do we use oil is a very good question. We'll come to this question. Let's come to this question first. So why do we use oil? Anyone? What does oil do?
Sir, oil is lighter than water, so
Mhm.
uh,
You're right. Oil is lighter than water. Lighter means less denser.
yeah,
So what happens?
while the eggs lay on the what to say
Mhm.
oil, I think it suffocates the.
Yes, you are perfectly correct. So what happens is when the mosquito egg is laid, the eggs, there's a part of the egg which is, so this is how an egg look like kind of, and the embryo is developing here. So this part is at the surface and it needs air to develop oxygen, right? So when you put oil, let's say I'm using green as oil forms a layer over the water and does not allow anything to come into that water. So this you can do for your water coolers and places where you cannot take out all the water all the time, but you can just put oil in it. So it will kill these developing eggs in the water which are laid by mosquito. Do you understand, Rifat?
Yes.
Now in the pond, you can do just one simple thing. Mosquito eggs are organic things, and there are many organisms, especially fish, a specific species of fish that eats mosquito larvae. So
Okay,
just introduce these fish called gambusia.
okay.
So there is a fish called gambusia. If you want to get rid of mosquito larvae or eggs from developing in any water body or any pond around your house, you just introduce the gambusia fish in that pond. So gambusia fish will live very close to the surface, and they primarily feed on any larvae of any insect that is growing in the water or around the water or on the surface of the water. So they will eat all the larvae for you and mosquitoes will not breed. Is it clear? So you can write down, introducing fish like gambusia in ponds can control the mosquito population or can control the breeding of mosquitoes. Make sense?
Yes.
So the problem is solved. We don't need to do all this electrical or mechanical jargon or making things or making the water of the whole pond move, because you see, it's not that easy to make the water of the whole pond swirl. If it is just moving, you are just able to make some movement in the water. That's not enough to kill the eggs, right? You cannot make a pond move like a river, pond water move like a river in round. It will never happen. For that, you need enormous energy and pumping power. Do you understand now, Hannah? Your experiment was very creative, but it had a flaw. We're talking about a water body, not the water in a cooler or a aquarium. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So just introduce gambusia fish and they will do the work for you. Simple, problem solved. And if it is a ditch or a region where just water gets accumulated after rain or something, but it is not a it's not a pond or a lake with the ecosystem, just spread insecticides in that water body so that nothing grows there. Okay, simple. You can also do this one thing, that you can put nets on the doors and windows to not let mosquitoes come into your house, etc., etc. Okay, so all this to do. So all these things that you are doing basically are you are using different strategy for different modes of infection for the infectious diseases caused by any organism belonging to any class. So on the basis of mode of spread, we can treat many of these diseases as same, like chikungunya, dengue, and what we discuss? Filariasis. They are all from different vectors, but we can just control them if we can control the vector population, which is mosquito. Okay, makes sense to all of you?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I think you all have, I hope you all have written about the vectors. So what causes malaria? Female Anopheles is the vector for malaria. Vector. If I say causative agent, it is, there's a difference between causative agent and vector. For malaria, the vector is female Anopheles, but the causative agent is Plasmodium. For dengue, what is the vector for dengue? Dengue and chikungunya. You must have heard of these two. What is the vector for dengue and chikungunya? It's female Aedes mosquito. Write down. The vector is female Aedes mosquito. But the viruses are different. For dengue, it's dengue virus. For chikungunya, it's chikungunya virus. And in the end, I am giving all of you a homework, okay? This you have to do before you come on Wednesday. So go and figure out something about poxes. You know about pox? Some of the pox you have heard about is chicken pox, very common. I'm sure some of you must have also had chicken pox as kids. How many of you have had chicken pox? I have had chicken pox as a kid. And the other one is smallpox. No one has had chicken pox. That's not possible. Okay. Smallpox. And nowadays you must be hearing some words like monkeypox in the news, right? Or
sir.
let's say tomato pox. What are these poxes? What causes pox? What are the vector, if there is any? What are the causative agents? Okay. So you have to figure out the causative agent of all the four and just read a little bit which of the following is most fatal and deadly and what are the symptoms. Okay. So I'll start from here in the next class. And then in the next class, we are going to study immunity and vaccination. Interesting topics, also important for your exams. And this is something we all are dealing with currently in terms of COVID as well. So we will also discuss through that line. Is it okay, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll see you all in the next class. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Noted the homework, everyone, right?